Right, welcome to part 2. This is a film of me running through questions 13 to 22 on the sheet which you can download via the link in the description. These are all standard form questions. They're about grade 5, 6, maybe pushing 7. But standard form's a really regular topic, so you need to practice these questions until you can't get them wrong. Okay, let's crack on. Question 12, well, the easiest way to do this is simply going to be to do A multiplied by B, which gives me 3 times 4.2, which is 12.6, multiplied by 10 to the power of minus 24 times 10 to the power of 145. Add those powers together, gives you 10 to the power of 121. But look out, this isn't in standard form yet. I need to take a power of 10 from there, so I'll need to add it on to there. Question 13. The table shows the population of 5 countries. Work out the difference between the population of China and the population of Germany. So I'm going to do the population of China minus the population of Germany. And if I do that on my calculator, I get this answer, 1318 with 6 zeros. So in standard form, that's going to be 1.318 times 10 to the power of 9. Given that the population of Fiji is 1/somethingth of the population of Sweden, work out the value of k. So what this is asking me is how many times will the population of Fiji divide into the population of Sweden? So I'm going to do Sweden divided by Fiji. So Sweden is 9.9 times 10 to the 6, and I'm going to divide that by 9.1 times 10 to the 5. Now when I do that on my calculator, I see that Fiji divides into Sweden 10.8 times, which to the nearest whole number is 11. So the population of Fiji is 1/11th of the population of Sweden, and k is 11 to the nearest whole number. Question 14. I've got 6 countries' populations there, but the first question is nothing about that. I simply need to write 9.3 times 10 to the 7 as an ordinary number, and that's going to be 93 million, or 93 with 6 zeros. Which of these countries have the least population? Well, let's look for the least power of 10. I've got Singapore and Hungary, and which is least? 5.7 times 10 to the 6 or 9.8 times 10 to the 6? Answer, this one is least, and the question says which of these countries, so you must write the name of the country. The population in China was this, and the population in India was that. Work out the difference between the population of China and the population of India. So I'm going to do the population of China minus the population of India. And I'll do that on my calculator, and that gives me the answer 55 million. But I need to write my answer in standard form, so that's going to be 5.5 times 10 to the power of 7. Question 15. Right, we've got this many raindrops and that many bacteria. We want to know the number of bacteria per raindrop. So we're going to do the number of bacteria divided by the number of raindrops. So all I need to do is to put that into my calculator, and I get the answer 0.072916, which in standard form is 7.2916 times 10 to the minus 2, but I'm asked to give it to 2 significant figures, so that's going to be 7.3 times 10 to the minus 2. Now, next question. A drop of rainwater contains that many atoms, and in a drop of rainwater, the number of atoms is 3 times the number of molecules. Work out the number of molecules in the rainwater tank? Well, let's start with how many drops there are. Right, there are 2.4 times 10 to the 7 raindrops. Now, each of those drops contains this many atoms. So I'm going to multiply that by 5.01 times 10 to the power of 21. And that tells me how many atoms it is. Now, the number of atoms is 3 times the number of molecules. So to get the number of molecules, I'll need to divide that by 3. So that's what I'm going to put into my calculator. If I put that into my calculator, then I get the answer 4.008 times 10 to the 28. But I'm asked to give my answer in standard form correct to one significant figure. So my answer is simply 4 times 10 to the power of 28. Question 16. Okay, part A, nothing to do with the table. Right, 8.8 times 10 to the 6 is an ordinary number. That's going to be 8.8. Well, 88 is that times by 10 once, and then I'm going to have 5 more zeros there. Which of these cities had the least population? Well, I'm looking for the lowest power of 10. I've got 3 to choose from because those are all 10 to the 6. The city there with the lowest is Barcelona. Okay, work out the difference in population between the population of Tokyo and the population of Ahmedabad in 2018. Right, let's have a look. Well, the population of Tokyo, there we are, subtract 7.7 times 10 to the 6. I can put that in my calculator and I get the answer 293 with 5 zeros. I've got to give that in standard form. 2.93 times 10 to the power of 2467. But in standard form, correct to two significant figures. So my answer is simply going to be 2.9 times 10 to the power of 7. Question 17. Okay, write this as an ordinary number. Well, I'm going to move the decimal point 4 places that way. One of those hops it over the 6, so there must be 3 more hops. There you go. Work this out. Give your answer in standard form. Well, if I put that into my calculator using the fraction function, then I get the answer 25 with 6 zeros, 25 million. So, in standard form, that is 2.5 times 10 to the 7. And that is question 17. Question 18. Right, I need to work out how much more was spent per person on healthcare in Luxembourg than was spent in Austria. So I'm going to split my page in two. I'm going to work out the amount that's spent per person in Austria on the left-hand side here, and the amount that was spent per person in Luxembourg on the right-hand side. Now in Austria, they spent a total of 4.2 times 10 to the 10. That was their total, and they spent that on this number of people. So the amount spent per person, I'll just put that into my calculator, and I get 4827.5962, and so on. Similarly, in Luxembourg, they spent a total of 3.7 times 10 to the 9. And how much was that per person? Well, I need to divide that by 6.3 times 10 to the 5, which gives me an answer on my calculator of 5873.0158, and so on. So I can work out the difference between that, and I get the answer 1045.4. So the nearest whole number, the answer is $1,045. Question 19. I've got to find the difference between the average crowd attendance for Barcelona and the average crowd attendance for Monaco. Well, that's going to mean that I need to do 7.7 times 10 to the 4 minus 9.5 times 10 to the 3. Put that in my calculator, and I get the answer 67,500. And I need to put that in standard form, so it's 6.75 times 10 to the power of 4. Antonio says the average crowd for Chelsea is 50 times that for Oxford United. Is he correct? Well, let's work out how many times bigger Chelsea's crowd is than Oxford. So let's do Chelsea divided by Oxford. So that's 4.2 times 10 to the 4 divided by 8.3 times 10 to the 3. And if I work that out in my calculator, it equals about 5. So in fact, Chelsea's crowd is only 5 times the crowd of Oxford. So is Antonio correct? Remember, you must give a yes or a no answer. No. And there is my reason. Right. And here's a little bonus, not standard form question here. During the last season, the cost of a ticket increased by 15% and then decreased by 8%. Work out the overall percentage change. So it increased by 15% and then decreased by 8%. And if you work out 1.15 multiplied by 0.92 on your calculator, you will find that the overall multiplier is 1.058, meaning that the overall percentage change is an increase of 5.8%. But that's not standard form, that's just a bonus. Question 20. Right, we're either buying our oil from Dane Oil or from Arctic Oil. From which company should we buy the oil? Okay, well, let's start by working out for Dane Oil and then for Arctic Oil, what is the price per litre? So for Dane Oil, the price per litre will be the amount that she spends divided by the number of litres she gets. So that means that Dane Oil's price per litre is 5.95 krona for each litre. Meanwhile, Arctic Oil, what is the price per litre there? Well, you get 8.6 times 10 to the 5 litres for $770,000. So the price per litre is 770,000 divided by the number of litres you get for that money, which gives you a price per litre of $0.89. So either you're paying 5.95 krona or you're paying $0.89. Well, let's convert this 0.89 into krona, shall we? $1 is 6.57 krona. So I've got 0.89. In fact, I've got the whole number on my calculator. And I'm going to multiply it by 6.57 to work out how many krona that is equivalent to. And it's equivalent to 5.88 krona. So where shall I buy my oil? Well, I'm going to buy it from Arctic Oil because it's cheaper. So from which company should she buy her oil? She should buy her oil from Arctic Oil. Question 21. I've got to work out the value of a cubed. Well, that's going to be a times a times a. So that's going to be 6 times 6 times 6 times 10 to the power of 40 times 10 to the power of 40 times 10 to the power of 40. Well, 6 times 6 times 6 is 216, and 10 to the power of 40 times 10 to the power of 40 times 10 to the power of 40 is 10 to the power of 120, because I add the indices. Now, is that in standard form? Not yet. I need to write it as 2.16. And then I've taken off 2 powers of 10 there, so I must add them there. Question 22, 4% of something. Well, to find 4% of something, I multiply it by 0.04. So I'm just going to do 0.04 times 4.5 times 10 to the power of 157. Now, 0.4 times 4.5 is 0.18. So this boils down to 0.18 multiplied by 10 to the power of 157. That's not in standard form though. I need to write that as 1.8. So I've added a power of 10 here. So I must subtract 1 from the 10. And that is my answer to question 22. Okay, that's the end of part 2. So you've now done 22 IGCSE questions on standard form. Please leave me any questions in the comments. Tell me how you found the film. I hope you're finding these films useful. If you are finding my films useful, then do subscribe to the channel, especially if you're preparing for your IGCSE, as there is lots more content to help you out. Okay, thanks for watching. See you in the next film.